your standards, guys.
I call this August 8th, 2023 Onslow County Board of Education meeting to order. First on their agenda tonight is our invocation, and tonight our invocation will be delivered by the Reverend Reginald Maxwell of the Sandy Run Missionary Baptist Church here in Jacksonville.
This is the day that the Lord has made, and we shall rejoice and be glad in it. It is you, our most eternal and gracious God, who we thank for allowing us to see another day. As we gather here on today in the name of the children of this county, let all that is said and done on today be done on their behalf. Let everyone be on one accord for the future of our children's educational process, this county, and our country. We ask for continued blessings upon our teachers and administrators as we embark on a new school year. We pray for safety, understanding, and most of all, love. We say this prayer in your heavenly Son, Jesus Christ's name. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Reverend Maxwell. This time, will you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I haven't recognized any distinguished guests, elected officials tonight. Okay. But again, welcome to all, and thanks for coming. Next is the approval of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to approve the
Wait. I think Mrs. Todd.
I would like to make a motion to amend the agenda to modify the district's current ban/restriction letters to include a couple sentences that would give directions to parents for grievance purposes.
Okay. All right, so we have a motion, and if you can, I think in succinct terms, there's a motion to change the ban letter that goes to individuals who have posed some problem at a school at some point. Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Have a second. All right, discussion.
Okay. I feel that when I voted on the policy 5020 in June, it was my understanding that there would be a modification to these letters in which parents and community members would be directed to how they could file a grievance should they feel the ban was not warranted. I requested a copy of the new version of these letters, which did not include any kind of direction for parents to file a grievance if they did not feel like these actions were warranted. And then I sent an email on July 27th to ask that this be added to the agenda, at which time it was not. So that's why I'm asking to just be heard on this topic. And there's only 2 sentences I would like to see added to these letters. And if you would like me to read that, I can.
Please.
It states, any student, parent, or guardian who wishes to appeal this decision may refer to Onslow County Board Policy 1740/4010, Student and Parent Grievance Procedure. A grievance shall be filed as soon as possible, but in no event longer than 30 days after disclosure of the facts giving rise to the grievance. It's discouraging enough that the district needs to have such letters on hand ready to go should the need arise, and I do know that there are extreme instances that these must be utilized. I, however, do want to have procedures in place to make sure all parties are heard when and if these situations arise. Furthermore, this action should not be seen as not supporting staff in extreme circumstances, but more so as an opportunity to regain trust and mutual respect in the community with our public school system. At the end of the day, it takes parents, teachers, students, administrators, board members, and the community to ensure the success of our youth in Onslow County.
Okay. I think I got all that. All right, anyone else?
If there's anyone in opposition, I think they're supposed to go with it.
But no, I'm just asking, is there anyone else?
I think she made a good case.
Okay, well, I have remarks. Do you want to go first, Albert?
I'll just say that first of all, the number of ban letters that usually go out are very, very small. It's a very, very small percentage. Usually involves behavior that's considered threatening, harassing, or disruptive, and usually these types of behaviors warrant a year-long ban. My opinion is that it's not the board's job to get into the day-to-day operations of the school system, that we leave that up to the superintendent as far as issuing the ban letters and hearing any such appeals.
Okay, anyone else?
In my understanding, the ban letter also includes the information for the person being banned as to how the process works, the amount of time that they are suspended from attending any functions, and at what point in time they can then be reinstated or appeal to be reinstated. I think 1 year is appropriate because if we just arbitrarily take into consideration that someone has behaved egregiously, turn around 2 seconds later, grant them an audience to then reverse that decision, they're at liberty to do the same thing again. And it will become a revolving door. A year is adequate for the person to take into consideration their actions, for the school system to take into consideration their ability to abide by the rules, and therefore be reinstated at the end of that 1 year. Thank you, Mr.
All
Chairman.
right. Anyone else?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I believe that it has been a premise for this board, a foundation, a standard that we have all been promoting school safety. That's been on the forefront. It's been on the forefront for many of our administrators, our staff, our superintendent, his administrative assistant. That's been something that we all have at the key focus of our mind, particularly since approximately a year ago, we had a fatality. So that raised the bar with that, so to speak. Being that this conversation has been floating around, I did some of my own research, so to speak, by speaking to some of our administrators, asking them, can you please explain to me what it looks like when you initiate a ban of a person? What kind of things would that take for you to initiate something like that? Well, what I learned in the process of that was that no one single administrator themselves can officially ban someone. It has to come up to this fine gentleman over there, Dr. Collins, and they have to review the criteria of what that exactly looks like. We have instances on campuses where at football games, basketball games, other sporting events, and other after-school events and extracurriculars where people come and anything can cause people to have a violent outburst. Unfortunately, in today's society, that's where we're at. And no matter what is going on a school campus, we want a safe experience for all that may come to our campuses and visit, no matter what that's for, whether it's for educational purposes during the day or whether it's for a sporting event in the evening. What I also learned is that our coaches sometimes have to ban people from athletic events for a short time by telling them, hey, you know what, I'm gonna need you to leave this evening, you gotta go cool down. You can't be cussing on the football field. I know your kid got hit or whatever, but you gotta, go take a cool down period. You can come back next week to the game. Those kind of things happen before the ban letters are initiated. A lot of the public may be wondering, what are some of the reasons people get a ban letter? Well, there are things like you're a sex offender, you have a gun on campus, you might be a known named gang member that started a fight and had a violent occurrence. I don't think these are the kind of people that any of us want on our campuses. I don't know any board member that wants to sit on a hearing panel and have an appeal with some of those people when our SROs also have recommended, hey, these are people that are not good for your school campus, they don't mean well, things like that. At any point in time, you can send a letter to the superintendent and say, hey, I've changed my ways, I've been going through whatever, and, I need to go to my kid's concert. I need to go to my kid's soccer game. Hey, can I just go on campus for this? Those things are typically worked out without fail. We're not just locking people out of campuses that have a purpose, that mean well, that want to do the right thing. But we have a great responsibility to keep all that we serve safe, and that includes the communities around those schools. So I'm sorry, I'm okay with how it is. I know Dr. Collins added into the letter that, hey, you can initiate this again in a year, send a letter, you can petition to the superintendent's office, but statutorily, by North Carolina law, day-to-day functions of a school system, they don't really belong to this board. They belong to that man over there. And that is something that we have to respect. I think it's disrespectful by cutting his legs out from under him, so to speak, telling our administrators that we know more than you do when they're the ones on the ground every day, hands-on, and they see and they know what is best for the students in those campuses than we do, because we're not there every day. We're not on all 40 sites of these schools, and we just don't know. So I would like to trust our administrators know what is best when it comes to safety. They see it, they know it, and then they can bring it to him, and he can check that extra box. That's all I have.
Anyone else? Mr. Williams, you have anything?
Yeah. So, because I'm in favor of the motion, I waited till the end. And I'll kind of respond to the community here. There being a small percentage is being a reason why, or at least one of the reasons why this is not something that should be added. If one parent is banned from the school for something they believe to be an unfair reason, that's enough for me. Just one parent. They're very disruptive. If a parent feels like they're not being heard and they become very disruptive, there's a consequence to that. However, they still have the right to be heard. Now, what happens is there's a process that multiple people, including our superintendent, makes the final decision on a parent or anyone being banned. But what I believe my colleague is asking for is not to overturn it, it's to give them an opportunity to plead their case to someone outside of the superintendent. And that would be us if it wasn't resolved at the superintendent level. Having 1 year is appropriate. This is what my esteemed colleague just said, is appropriate. Because if we were to overturn it or have it reviewed with an audience, it gives an opportunity for them to do it again. Well, what are we here for? If they did it again, do we not have confidence in the board that we would take corrective actions from that point moving forward? Or do we just say, hey, across the board 1 year? Are we gonna, I'm struggling here to hear this as an argument. Then another one of my colleagues just said that she spoke to the administrators and asked their input. Well, I do care about our administrators, and this is a conversation that it's been a struggle because obviously as board members, we don't want to go down there and have conversations with administrators and be in the offices. I know that's can be a little bit time consuming and grueling, but I'm about talking to the parents in the community because they have a different conversation because they're the ones that are getting banned. So having a conversation with the parents is ideal. And I've had a couple conversations with parents. One parent that was banned, that is no longer banned today, was banned because they got in an argument with a teacher in the principal's office. They got banned. Now, I don't know the details of that. I have to take it at face value, but what I do know is they have a right to ask to be heard. And we're sitting here saying that, we don't think that they have that right. Once the superintendent makes a decision, then that decision is good. Well, I disagree with that. And we're not arguing that we take the power away from our superintendent. What we're arguing is we extend a right to the parents. Now, what my colleague is reading is in a section, our policy. She's literally saying that we put that on the ban letter. And we're sitting here debating whether or not we put something that's already in our policy on a ban letter. Why would we be arguing that? If you had asked me why I think we're arguing this, is because we're arguing with the ability to keep the community informed. That's transparency. Because if I'm not mistaken, my colleague is not adding any policy, right? You're not asking for a correction of any policy. We're just asking to have the policy placed on a ban letter so that they can know what their rights are. That's it. So if you ask me, this is the reason why I believe our chairs are empty, because we're having conversations about putting a piece of policy on a ban letter for our community members, to just let them know, look, what happened was not good. This is the steps that we took. However, if you feel that this was unjustified, this is the policy that you could refer to. That is what this argument is about. And therefore, I am 100% in favor of adding this to our ban letters. And moving forward, I would also like to add, I know my colleague has fought diligently about getting more details about the people that have been banned in the future. I believe that's going to be a conversation that's going to come up in the very near future.
Mr. Chairman, ma'am. I just wanted to add to somewhat to respond to you, Mr. Rogers, that I also did speak to parents. I am a parent of public school children, so I do speak to parents all the time, and I did bring this conversation up to them as well to ask them, what do you think about circumstances as this, where you may have a person that brought a gun to a campus, or if you had a person that was a sex offender that obviously has no business on a school campus, or if you had someone that rammed a car into another parent's car because they're having a family matter and you have a mother and or ex-wife and a stepmother, those kinds of things. That's a little more than disruption. That can actually cause harm to other people while they're in a car line. I don't imagine anybody in the public wants to be the person that gets slammed in the 10-car pileup because you have a line of people waiting to get their kids from the front of the school every day. So there's a variety of reasons why people may be restricted for a short time, or they may be banned from a campus. So while, yes, okay, we've already added the paragraph that says after 1 year, you may petition the superintendent's office. So I don't understand the point necessarily of saying, hey, refer to this policy, when most people are just going to simply write a letter to the superintendent and say, hey, Dr. Collins, my name is such and such, and I was banned on this date for this reason. I would like to be reinstated. It's a very simple process, and it actually has been successfully done before. There was a man that actually, he was here. I'll just mention his name. Sorry, Charlie Miracle, but he is one person that has successfully overturned being banned by him using policy himself. You can literally put in a keyword in our policy manual. So the problem that's being presented really isn't a problem. It's been rectified.
Mr. Chair, I would
Yes,
like
sir.
to add to Ms. Oakley's comments in this simple fact right here. When our colleague, Mr. Rogers, was pointing out that he feels this is problematic, he pointed out that a parent was banned and he wasn't aware of details, but another parent had her ban overturned. This proves Ms. Oakley's point.
It was the same
Wait,
parent.
oh,
Same
I
parent.
have the chair. I have the floor, rather. So what we're wrestling with here is a situation where it is up to the individual to advocate for themselves, and everyone has the right to fire right back at the superintendent for the reasons they were banned and an appeal to be unrestricted again. so that they can attend functions and so forth. It exists. You proved it tonight. Adding more on top of what is effective is not good policy. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Appeal to the superintendent. That's what, if you guys get banned, if anyone gets banned, appeal to the superintendent. So in other words, what we're saying is this. If the superintendent says you're banned from this campus, immediately turn around and say, hey, I appeal. And it goes to the superintendent. How does that make sense? What my colleague is saying is, following this policy, if they believe that the superintendent has made an incorrect decision, they now have the opportunity to go through the proper process and then see the board. Am I mistaken on that? I want to make sure I'm right on this one, because as we go back and forth, I can't agree that this is transparent. And one thing I will say is, the longer we debate about this, if my colleagues believe I'm wrong, if there's administrators that believe I'm wrong, or educators that believe I'm wrong, or even community members, just take note of this very argument right now and make a decision. We're doing this in public forum so that you guys can know. Make a decision on who's on the board. Be more involved in your community, because the way I see it is, this is not a personal vendetta. This is just trying to keep the community informed. And if somebody is violent and they get banned, what is the board up here for? We're here to support the community. Anyways, that's all I have right now.
Okay, thank you. My comments are pretty simple. First of all, we're not administrators. We're the Board of Education. We do not get into the day-to-day operation of the school system as it relates to who's on campus and who shouldn't be on campus and that kind of thing. That's not our job. That's why the superintendent gets paid. There is a general statute that deals directly with this, 115C-45, and it does say that the superintendent is the person that this decision rests on, not the Board of Education. I'm afraid that if we get into anybody can appeal their so-called ban from the school system, I think it could get into some real politics. I know a neighbor down the street, and I'm friends with her, and that's my cousin. I just don't think 7 board members have any business getting involved in this kind of thing when we have an objective administrator for the whole school system that can make that decision without us. If safety is a priority, then I feel very safe with Dr. Collins making that decision. So at this time, we have a motion.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a motion to call the question.
Okay. All right, we have a motion to call the question, and I was about to go ahead and, anyway, we'll call the question. All right. And we have a second. All right, we have the questions being called. We have a second. And those in favor of the motion to add as an agenda item, the ban letter issue as expressed by Ms. Todd, please say aye. Okay. All right, I thought that's what I was voting. I thought that's what I said. Okay. All right, we need to vote on the call to the question first. Okay. At this time, we are voting on if we support the call to the question, which is to end this discussion, basically, fancy word for end discussion and vote, call to question. All right. If those in favor to call the question, please signify by voting aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay. All right, now we're going to go to the the actual motion, which was to add to the agenda tonight the issue relating to the ban letter. Those in favor of adding this item to the agenda for general business night, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Nay.
Nay. All right, motion does not carry. Thank you. Okay. All right, so next we have the approval of the consent agenda. All of us have had ample time to look at the items on the consent agenda. I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Mr. Chairman, we never approved the agenda.
All right, now we got to go and, thank you, Mr. Irwin. So now, since we've done that, we've done the call, we voted on the addition or to the thing, now we're going to actually vote on approving tonight's agenda. Those in favor of, let me hear a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
So moved.
So moved. We have a second. We have a second from Mr. Lanier. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All righty. Are we good now? Very good. So now the consent agenda. You've had time to look at the consent agenda. If you'd like to entertain, I'd like to entertain a motion that we at this time approve the consent agenda.
Sure. Oh, sorry.
We have a so moved and second.
Second.
And I have a second. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Good news spotlights or highlights. All right, Brent, you're up.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Dr. Collins, executive staff, and our audience this evening. Tonight we're excited to introduce the OCS Raising the Bar initiative. Raising the Bar is a district-wide effort which will call on each member of the OCS community to ask themselves, what can I do this year to raise the bar for OCS? Like many districts in the region, state, and nation, OCS has experienced disruptions to instructional time, hiring processes, and more over the last few years. Our goals for the 23-24 school year and beyond include empowering students, exceeding expectations, and achieving exceptional outcomes. These goals can not only be measured by test scores and data, but by the community and morale we all foster in the coming year. Now, on Monday, July 31st, we kicked off the school year with our principals. Now, during their time together, Dr. Collins and Dr. Barnes shared this presentation and discussed the implications it has for the district as we move into the new academic year. Now, an important component of the Raising the Bar initiative is understanding what it is as well as what it is not. So when we talk about raising the bar, it isn't about people doing things alone, working in isolation. It's not about programs or increasing workloads or assigning blame for anything that where we're at with anything. It's not about division, fear, or disempowerment or not being good enough. It's not about just a number. It's not about viewing past results negatively or complex processes, unrealistic expectations. It's not about the comfort that we have in the positions and where we are with our performance. It's not about focusing on roadblocks, and it's not about waiting for someone else. Now, raising the bar is about intentional and targeted work by all of our stakeholders at all levels. Raising the bar is about incremental work to achieve a greater impact. The quote in the slide there in the bottom left corner says, "The success is the sum of small efforts repeated day in and day out." Raising the bar is about being ambitious but reasonable, working and focusing on the factors which are within our control. Raising the bar is about responding, not reacting. Raising the bar is about maintaining a growth mindset and reestablishing expectations across the board. Now, for the 23-24 school year, this already looks like our standardized bell schedule. So in addition to improving our transportation experience, our new standardized bell schedule will provide equitable instructional time at all of our schools, allowing teachers and administrators to maximize time with their students. It looks like our updated cell phone policy. So in an effort to eliminate distractions and improve focus in our classrooms, the district's cell phone policy has been updated. Effective with the start of the 23-24 school year, students are allowed to have their cell phones on campus so long as the devices are not activated, used, displayed, or visible during the instructional day. It looks like an improved security protocol. So during this school year, the district will be introducing a standard response protocol for all of our schools in the event of an emergency on campus. These protocols will help to standardize the processes and language used across the district to address emergency situations, improving communication within the schools and with our families. And it looks like expanded student opportunities. This year, we'll continue to expand opportunities for students by introducing new and improved CTE programs, providing families with parent academy opportunities to learn about post-secondary options, and investing in math and literacy instruction across the district and more. Now, some of these expanded opportunities have already been going on during the summer break. Our summer school programs throughout the county have provided our students an opportunity to shore up their learning and have another opportunity to increase their proficiency on state assessments. The Read to Achieve summer reading camps extended student learning time at this critical stage, and Onslow County Schools has raised the bar on these camps by including our first graders in this opportunity. Students making the move from elementary to middle school have been able to participate in the Summer Bridge program, giving them a taste of middle school before making this first day of school in middle school. Career and technical education has been extremely busy during the break, with the Summer Accelerator program allowing our ninth graders a chance for career exploration as they begin their high school careers. Summer internships for students in the CTE programs have provided students with opportunities for paid work in many different areas. And if you didn't have a chance to come out and try out the Kitchen 261 next door this summer, that was one of our internship opportunities for our students. You missed quite a treat if you didn't get out here and get that. And this doesn't even include our teachers and staff who have participated in professional development activities both online and in person. Last week, we also received some exciting news from State Superintendent Catherine Truitt. Now, to share more about this, please welcome Executive Director of Elementary Education, Dr. Mark Boris.
Thank you, Mr. Anders. Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the board. In kindergarten through third grade, North Carolina requires all students to be assessed at the beginning, middle, and end of the year using Amplify M-Class Dibbles 8 assessment, which measures foundational reading skills. And this is an assessment that's used across the nation. Last week, on August 3rd, State Superintendent Truitt presented the State Board of Education with an overview of state and national results from the 22-23 school year. As part of her presentation, Onslow County Schools was one of 4 districts in North Carolina recognized for outstanding growth in kindergarten proficiency from beginning of the year to end of the year. So kindergarten proficiency rates in Onslow County grew a total of 54%, from 19% at the beginning of the year to 73% at the end of the year, significantly exceeding the growth of both the state and national, at both the state and national levels. Thinking about the numbers, this equates to over 1,100 more students being proficient in kindergarten at the end of the year than were proficient at the beginning of the year. Those are some amazing results. If you look at the chart that is up here, the 3 green columns represent the nation, the gray is the state of North Carolina, and the blue is Onslow County. And the 3 bars are beginning of the year, middle of the year, and end of the year. So if you look, you'll notice like at national level, students entering kindergarten coming in about 38% proficient. The state, 29% proficient. In Onslow County, our students came in at 19% proficient. And through the amazing work of our teachers and our staffs, we grew them, and you'll see by the end of the year, we had closed that gap and we tremendously, and we were almost on par exactly with the state. So amazing work by our folks. And so while we want to recognize that piece of it, we also want to look at the other side of that. So those are our students that grew proficiently in proficiency. But if we look at our students that came in well below proficient, we reduced that number by 46%. So that went from 64% down to 18%. Again, if you look at the comparisons between the nation, the state, and Onslow County, you can see, first of all, how many more students we had that came in well below proficient than both the state and the nation, and where we ended up with that. We essentially flipped the script on these students. So it's amazing work that our teachers and our staffs have done. And we had 943 students at the end of the year that needed intensive intervention based on the work of our teachers. And we know that the past couple of years have really been challenging to our teachers as they've completed letters professional development, implemented a new curriculum, and not to mention those things that, we don't like to talk about anymore. They're in the past. We're going to leave them in the past. But our teachers, our staffs, they've persevered, and their work, the results is really starting to show. And I just wanted to take this opportunity to congratulate and to thank all of our kindergarten teachers, our instructional assistants that play such an important part in those classrooms, all of our administrators, the support personnel, Title I teachers, all the school staff who work with these students that played a part in this accomplishment and really for making a difference in our students' lives. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, as you see, there's a lot to raising the bar. It's not just words, it's action that is happening. It's things that we're doing across the district to make sure that our students are receiving the best education that they can and living up to our excellence in education. So, Mr. Chairman, thank you for the opportunity to share this with you this evening, and we're excited about the Raising the Bar initiative. You'll be hearing more about it later this evening and throughout the months to come. And from the podium, that is your good news for this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Brent. Any board member would like to have a comment on that presentation? Anybody?
Oh, congratulations to everyone that put the hard work in. I've been fortunate enough to be on the board for 4 years, and sometimes we have the opportunity to drop little suggestions that from time to time culminate into real action. And whenever we can overcome the difficulties in the last 2 years, to see market improvement, it's a point of demarcation of which that group of children now move forward with a firm grasp of reading acuity. They will not lose it. They will enjoy reading all the way through their lives. This is a huge point of demarcation for advancement and is a testament to the work everyone puts in. Thank you all.
As Britt said, we'll learn more about the raising the bar, but I thought maybe we would have someone to at least just attaboy kind of comment. So thank you, Brent.
Thank you, sir.
All right, next on our agenda is our public comment period. We have one speaker tonight. I'd like to, for Corinne and Monique Muldrow to please come up to, or one of the other to please come up to the microphone. And please introduce yourself at the microphone, please. Just for the record. You don't have to give your address, just introduce yourself.
I am Corinne Muldrow. This is my sister, Monique Muldrow. We're ready. So what we want to present is to the board is that 49%, in which I'm sure you know, 49% of Onslow County students are female. 23% as a whole are at an economic disadvantage and cannot afford school lunch, more so hygiene and feminine products. So, which is key to addressing period poverty, and that is what we want to focus on. 51% of young girls wear period products longer than they should, creating more health issues further in their lives. 76% of female teenagers say that they are taught more about frog biology than their own biology in schools. Also, 65% of female teenagers say that they are ashamed of having a menstrual cycle. 40 to 45% of young women deals with menstrual cycles. Therefore, you have 20 to 30% of them having severe symptoms. So this can affect one's quality of life, which leads to depression, anxiety, affects one's daily activities, relationships, and much more. So what we want to do now is read a letter to you. We created a business called Empower Her. And with Empower Her, what we want to focus on is female anatomy and PMS cycle education in the school system and at an updated space from what we currently have, which is majority of the reproductive system. Our solution, like she said, our solution is to empower her by raising young women's awareness through healthy hygiene.
Ma'am, if you'll give those to the secretary, she will pass those out to us.
Okay.
Thank you.
We want to raise young women's awareness through education by providing a positive program pertaining to healthy hygiene that is not taught at home or school. Also, this will create healthy hygiene habits and also provide a better quality of life. So at this time, I see we only got 2 minutes, but at this time I want to read this letter of proposal, and I hope it finds you in good health and high spirits. We are here to introduce an exciting and progressive educational program focused on the topics of female anatomy and menstrual cycle, which is the cycle of life. As proud members of Southwest High School and alumni, we believe it is our duty to provide comprehensive and inclusive education that equips our students with essential knowledge and fosters their emotional well-being. Our proposal aims to implement a spectacular curriculum that addresses various aspects of female anatomy and the menstrual cycle, providing students with a comprehensive understanding of their bodies, health, and overall well-being. Our community-driven approach embraces the transformative power of education, empowering our students to become confident, informed, and well-equipped individuals in today's fast-paced, complex world. This curriculum is designed to ensure that both male and female students develop an understanding and appreciation for the female biology. By challenging stigma and fostering inclusivity, will not only promote gender equality, but also create a safe and respectful environment for discussions surrounding female reproductive health. Our proposed curriculum encompasses a wide range of topics, including but not limited to the anatomy and physiology of the female reproductive system, the menstrual cycle, menstrual hygiene, common health concerns, and the emotional and social aspects associated with these topics. By providing such knowledge, we aspire to equip our students with the necessary tools that will lead to healthier and more informed lives. Alongside the comprehensive curriculum, we plan to implement innovative teaching methods, incorporating interactive technologies, guest speakers, community partnerships, and practical demonstrations. By integrating a variety of teaching strategies.
Ma'am, could you finish up? Your
Yes,
time
yes,
is up.
sir. By integrating a variety of teaching strategies, we aim to engage our students actively, fostering their curiosity, critical thinking skills, and passion for learning. We kindly request your time.
Ma'am, your time is up.
Oh, I was about.
Okay.
Okay, I'm
All
sorry.
right, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. All righty. We just have one speaker tonight, so now on to our general business. The first item on our general business calendar tonight is the instructional services with Dr. Chris Barnes, who is our Chief Academic Officer. He's going to be giving us an instructional update, and this is just kind of more along the lines of what Brent was saying with the during the good news highlights. So Dr. Barnes?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Appreciate the opportunity. One of the things we wanted to do, I think you noticed in the slides earlier, is started with superintendent's campaign, and then that was crossed out to say our campaign, because obviously one person can't do it alone, is his vision, and we're going to see that it is met. And I asked Miss Marshall from Northwoods Elementary if she wouldn't mind if I used some of her information as a way to walk through, just as an example of what this may look like for a school. And then it will be followed by Dr. Elder, who will share some things about our efforts with parents and instruction with our parents. So you see the Raising the Bar logo with the little junior cardinal. One of my deals with Miss Marshall was, since she presented just a meeting or two ago, was that I would take this one for her this time, and then she has to come back for the next one. So I just wanted to reuse some of her slides and tell you a little bit of a story. In terms of Raising the Bar, you know, we have in the adoption of new ideas, there are innovators and early adopters. And Northwoods Elementary was an early adopter in the concept that we're talking about tonight. And I wanted to point out a few things from her slide. The first is in identifying the area for improvement with not excessively focusing on it, but finding what are the things and the strengths that we have in this particular school, the teachers and a great curriculum, followed by the principal's involvement and visibility. So the data teams process, which is referenced in the fourth bullet, is a key part of their improvement process, and it's one that they are working on to increase fidelity, as is the last piece, which is incorporating the MTSS process, and that's a multi-tiered system of support where they identify which students are in need of additional services. This last bullet relates also to Dr. Collins' vision for taking those strategic and intentional steps to address what's going on. It's just like the classroom teacher who has to have a well-developed lesson plan. You can't just show up in the classroom, and if you've ever tried, it doesn't work. You can't show up in the classroom and just hope to pull it together at the last minute. There has to be a plan that's aligned to the standards and where we're headed if we want to have success in the classroom. And that leads to the area she has in the rectangle, which is, we asked each of the principals, what are the 2 or 3 things that you want to focus on this year in terms of raising the bar? So hers has been and will continue to be increasing proficiency in her school. Next slide talks about her restructured daily intervention time, or the time at Northwoods Elementary. Again, going back to how is this raising the bar in action? Targeted, purposeful, intentional. Again, we're not just stumbling through the process of teaching and learning. There is a science to teaching. There's also an art to teaching. This doesn't take away from the art or the artistic side of what we do in education, but there has to be intentional efforts by teachers and staff to target the issues that we have in the school. She uses something called flex time in their intervention model rather, in which on a weekly basis they are looking at data, grouping and regrouping kids, and then in the second bullet, all hands on deck. So who are the support folks on that campus that understand how to reach students and meet their needs, and they're part of this process as well. In the last 2 bullets, team effort, and the second to last, revisiting weekly. So I'm not sure if it was on the first slide or not. Cadence of accountability. You may have heard that concept before. How do we establish a rhythm? And Ms. Marshall has done that in her school and will continue to do that. How do we establish a rhythm of accountability in which the teachers and the support staff come together to address the components of teaching in the school? So that addresses the cadence of accountability. The next slide, for this past year, they had a targeted group that you'll see some great successes with based on 21-22 data and then lifetime data through this past year. The key piece here is building relationships with the students. So without a solid relationship with the kids, they're not going to be able to reach them. Connected to this is the work that they did to update parents, to conference with parents with more than just the required conferences, but making sure parents understood the why. Why is my student in this special intervention block? Is this a punishment? No. Teaching is not ever intended to be a punishment. This is a time to pull our kids together and focus on their needs. This connects to the fourth domain of our framework, which is culture. Targeted student group, another piece was the wise use of resources. So there were tutors used at this school. They will continue to be used. And something kind of interesting, this came out at the principals meeting. Ms. Marshall shared that the tutors spent a lot of time on building stamina. So for the, I think we're prohibited from mentioning pandemic or hurricane, right? So the things that shall not be mentioned, well, it took a hit on the ability of our kids to get through a full school day. So stamina was something that our tutors have worked on in this school, test-taking strategies, that type of thing. Coming toward the end of this, keeping in mind, so what were the strengths of the school and what will they continue to be? She's had a stable staff, the ability to focus on their programs, so CKLA was adopted, and Ms. Marshall identifies that as the one of the game changers for her school. So being able to use a content-rich literacy curriculum has helped them focus and to raise the bar. When we look at good news about kindergarten kids, I hope you will see the connection to future successes. That's a really good level to see some early good news about. Test scores are still not official. The state board will have to vote on those. I think that's maybe September or so. So made sure that it was okay to share some of these. This demonstrates some of her specific improvements with her targeted groups. So you see that 70% of the previously non-proficient students were in the target group were proficient, and she had a nice increase, indicated there are 13.7 points in ELA, 29.8 points in math. We had about 1,500 kids in summer school across the district. This is not sharing scores that are not released yet. This is just general status. Of those 1,500 kids, we had 500 or more that after summer school posted proficient standings. So in just a few more days of instruction with our kids, very targeted, we had a very large group of students that came out proficient. So that's a positive. Last slide here, these are just some of her next steps. And we're going to see some other great things out of this group. You may know that there are early adopters and innovators. There's something called the early and late majority. And good news for Dr. Collins, the last group are called laggards or skeptics, 16% according to the research. And Dr. Collins, we have no principals that are in the laggards group. They're all ready for raising the bar, and they're excited about this. And we're going to incorporate this into each of our presentations this year as we talk about instruction. Now, Dr. Elder, come on up. Now, when did you started Parent Academy? A year or so ago? 2 years ago. Excuse me, 2 years ago, and it has grown ever since. And he's going to share with you a few things that are exciting about our upcoming Parent Academy.
First of all, thank you for the chance to continue to share because, as we know, getting the word out is always the greatest challenge, right? And so thank you, Chairman Reddick, members of the board, Dr. Collins, and everybody for this chance to just give a brief update. The good news is, the secret is, there's no secret, right? Hard work pays off. Staying on target matters. There are no quick fixes. There are long-term strategic moves, right? And that's where we are in this. The other beauty is that we're all in this together. This isn't simply an instructional initiative. It's not, it's everybody, right? I have yet to run into somebody who says, no, I won't present that for you. And so we continue to grow, and we hope that this all connects to systemically raising the bar and also supporting people as we raise the bar as we go through. So for those of you who may not be as aware, right, our parent academies began out of conversations. They began out of questions. So we've all learned as teachers along the way, you let kids ask questions and they'll tell you what you need to teach them. And so the same is true for our community, right? So we hear people ask, like, well, how do I know when I'm going to apply for a scholarship? Well, how do I know what to do about college? How do I enlist? Who do I find somebody? You know, if I just want to go straight to the workplace, what does Coastal? All those are questions that lead us to strategies, right? And so we have been thankful for partnerships with Coastal Carolina, with partnerships with now the health department, and we continue to listen, right? We want our kids to, we know that we began this with the goal of trying to be better about meeting the 3 E's, right? That our kids are ready to enlist, employ, or enroll when they leave us. If they can do one of those 3 things, we know we have done our K-12 responsibility. So our first phase allowed us to partner mostly with College Foundation North Carolina and Coastal Carolina. But I'm excited today to be able to share that this is now growing beyond those 2 groups and beyond just us leading, being a part of this. We are now including more internal partners. Our Exceptional Children's Department has jumped on board. We've got partners now with Blue Cross and Blue Shield, as well as the Onslow County Health Department, who are all helping us plan future adventures in this. We know that no one of us has the answer. No one of us has the solution, but together, right, we can do something in this when we work together, and those solutions will emerge. So these are some of the upcoming events. We'll share where you can find all of the events in an ongoing way. As we continue to update these, we'll push them out through the website. I know Mr. Anderson will push them out through our social media, as well as Ms. Crowder and that whole crew. We want to make sure that people know that this is out there, and we appreciate you guys supporting it both behind the scenes and being there as well. So thank you for all of that. We also know that our schools do a ton of this too. We have said from the beginning, we don't ever want to try to supplant what our schools are doing. They are doing amazing things trying to reach families. We don't care who somebody gets the information from as long as they get the information they're seeking. So we've got all these different pieces, right? We want to invite others, so if there are others who are listening tonight, we know that the picture can be a little bit fuzzy, but we need all of our partners to join us if we're going to be successful ultimately. Ultimately, the parent academies will be successful when everybody is working together, sharing information, and no one cares about who's getting the credit. It's just something we're doing for our community. Instead, that we are focused on the real puzzle, right? And we know when all the pieces come together, we see things like this, right? We see the celebrations, we see the Good News Spotlight, and we know that those kids are now moving on to what's next, and that's the picture of a stronger community. So we invite others to join us. So we have the QR code here that'll take you to the website. I hope it will take you to the website. Ms. Oakley can tell me in about 3 seconds if it actually worked. Good. Always the great fear. And that's a place, and the reason we do that is as we add these sessions, we'll continue to add them there. And so there will be the ability to plan ahead and also just to get that news as it comes out. So we will keep pushing that information out. And again, just thank you for these 5 minutes to share this evening.
Thank you, Dr. Elder. I know we have at least one board member up here who probably has something he may want to say about Parent Academy, because he has asked me to invite, or for the superintendent and the staff to invite Michael to come and talk about it. So, Mr. Williams, I know you feel very strongly about this.
Dr. Elders, I appreciate you and your staff and all the partners working to put this together. I'm excited to hear that it's growing and that you're adding partnerships both external to the school system, but with inside the school system as well. And maybe I confess to you, the first one I attended, I went as a school board member, but I found myself sitting there as a parent and learning. I have a daughter that's in college right now, and I have a rising 6th grader. And so some of those things I wish I'd known like 2 years before to help affect mine. But I think I went to the one you have in March, the high school scheduling for success. And I found myself, as he was talking and the staff was talking, realizing all the lessons I had learned after the fact, or like hindsight 2020 type thing. But I just really appreciate it, and it's so important that parents be connected to those things, and so you can get so much information, and you can take a lot of the stress off of you and your rising high school or a rising college student just by having some of those answers and knowing where to find the resources. So I appreciate it. I look forward to attending the ones I can this year and seeing the growth from it. But again, thank you so much.
Thank you for being here.
How was that for a commercial?
There you go. We'll take
I just want to say thank you for Parent Academy. For this parent, because it wasn't me helping my child, but it was me helping myself re-enroll in college at UMO. Because of the CFNC, I didn't know how to use that. I've been out of college for a long time, graduated from the last program. But thanks to you and your team, you taught me something to help me get on the track to actually getting a scholarship and a grant. So I appreciate you. But like Bradley was saying, you find yourself there as a board member like, hey, I just want to see so I can tell parents what to look for, what's going on in these parent academies, and then you find out, oh, I can use this in the future as a parent, because I do still have 2 in school. So I'm really excited. And the vape one that you guys did, I think in partnership with the health department, that's why these partnerships are so important, and I'm very, very excited and very proud of you guys, so thank you for that.
I did fail to mention, everything that we've done that's been videoed is also with that link, so you can go if you want to watch any of the previous sessions are all there too. So thank you guys again for
Your QR code works, by the way.
Yes, it does.
those are the wins I shoot for.
Anyone else have a comment or question?
My comment is this, I've been preaching Parent Academy ever since I got on the board. And I'm just tickled pink to see it come to fruition.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Elder. I think probably with your leadership and all your team, I think the Parent Academy has really made a difference. Thank you. All righty. Next on our agenda, we have Dr. Brendan Gartner, Chief of Operations, who will talk to us about the potential redistricting of Dixon High School and Southwest High School.
Thank you very much, Chairman Reddick, members of the board, Dr. Collins. So just to recap where we are at the February 7, 2023 Board of Education meeting, the board authorized staff to work with North Carolina State University, ORED, to investigate some redistricting options for Dixon and Southwest high schools. Provided to you at the time, and since then have been and to the public, were 2 potential redistricting scenarios. On Thursday, May 11th, 2023, and Wednesday, May 17th, 2023, we had some community meetings held at Dixon High School Auditorium to provide the community an opportunity to get some more detailed information on the redistricting process and to provide public comment. Additionally, we set up an email address, dhsredistricting at onslow.k12.nc.us, and we use that to help gather feedback from those who weren't able to attend those meetings as well. And just to kind of rehash where we are, the 2 scenarios, here we have scenario number 1, circled in yellow is Southwest High School and red is Dixon High School, just for reference. Everything currently below the red line at the top of this slide is all Dixon High School currently. And what is in yellow would be the new Dixon High School, and in purple would be the new Southwest High School district. And this scenario 1 focuses more on the northwestern section of the county and of that district. Scenario 2, again, Southwest High School, Dixon High School, circled for reference. This kind of focuses more on the northern section. It's a smaller section geographically, but more densely populated along Dawson Cabin Road and those areas. At the community meetings, the public offered a number of different comments, and I wanted to share those with you. I told the community at the time that I would absolutely make sure that I shared their thoughts with the board, and these are not necessarily recommendations from staff, but just suggestions that the public had, and I wanted to make sure that I shared with you. Some very common themes that came up was the idea of grandfathering, which is allowing some students to remain even though they've been redistricted. Most of those in attendance felt like there should be some form of grandfathering in this process. Some felt it should be those would be seniors in the 24-25 school year when the redistricting would go into effect. Others thought anybody that will be in Dixon High School next year should be allowed to remain. And still others thought anybody currently attending any Dixon High School or any Dixon school, middle, elementary, otherwise, should not be affected by the redistricting, and only those who move into the district should have to be subject to that. Another thing they brought up was legacy. Legacy is the idea that if I have a sibling attending that school, that I be allowed to attend as well. And as long as we have that chain of siblings that is still there, that they're allowed to remain. That continues until the chain is broken, and all of this is contingent upon families having their own transportation. Just some other general comments was some concern for military students who already change schools frequently. There's a desire for new school construction, particularly at the high school level, and a concern for how rapidly the area is developing. That's outside of our control, but it was something that was frequently brought up. Both public comment periods have been available for viewing on the district website. At the public hearings, we asked the public rather to provide some additional feedback, and we did the same on the email, and overwhelmingly, the public thought scenario 1 would have been the better option when we look at both of them. So based on public comment and discussions with our transportation department, staff requested the board approve new attendance zones for Dixon High School and Southwest High School as presented in scenario 1, beginning with the 24-25 school year.
All right, thank you, Dr. Gardner. Dr. Gardner, before we actually present the motion for action here tonight, you may want to talk to us a little bit more about the whole grandfathering piece. That may not be as clear to some folks as it may be to others.
So grandfathering is basically if we're going to redistrict, we're going to do a scenario like this where we have to move students because of our conditions with overcrowding, overcapacity issues at schools. The idea of grandfathering is that certain students who are already in attendance, regardless of how the new lines are drawn, they are allowed to remain at that school, provided they can provide their own transportation because we don't have buses that travel between districts.
Okay, all right, good.
And so historically what we have done, especially most recently, is we have allowed those, say, when we redistricted Clearview and Coastal, those elementary school students, those who were rising fifth graders, were allowed to remain at their school. And we have also done that at other levels with seniors. You know, I've been a Bulldog my whole life. I want to graduate a Bulldog. That would certainly be understandable.
All right. Thank you, Brendan. So the new motion would be more along the lines of a motion to approve new attendance zones for Dixon High School and Southwest High School as presented in scenario 1. So that was overwhelmingly the choice that parents had. Beginning with the 24-25 school year, not this school year, 24-25, allowing for students who are seniors during the 24-25 school year to elect to remain at Dixon High School, provided they can supply their own transportation. So that would be
my
in full.
recommendation. Yes, sir.
All right, so do we have a motion to approve such a motion there? All right, and we have a motion to approve. Do we have a second? We have a second. Any discussion on the matter of the realignment?
I guess I'll go first.
Okay.
I was able to attend one of the nights with the public coming out to voice their opinions and their thoughts on everything. Overall, I would say that it actually went very well. Most of them have voiced their opinions, even those that were not there that I've been able to speak to between both communities that have kids between Southwest and Dixon, because, you know, even though we're filling space at Southwest, that doesn't mean that those parents don't have a concern. So to listen to all of that well-rounded feedback, but they were all pleased with scenario 1, you know, even some of the people that are over athletics and things like that and that work between the schools. So overall, I think that it was the best decision, best recommendation. Definitely goes with the public opinion, so I'm perfectly okay with supporting that as well.
All right. Louis, you have
Do you have anything, Bradley? Because I think it's fitting for the two Dixon parents to go first if they did.
Oh,
okay.
fine. I attended one of the meetings, and I appreciate the fact that we went to, I would say, great lengths to hear back from the community. I think ideally we would all agree that if the land appeared and the money appeared overnight and the school was built tomorrow, that would be our best option.
Mm-hmm.
But that obviously is not going to happen. I know the cost analysis between building a school and redistricting is quite different, I think more than most people would imagine. I do have a question I heard, which I know the answer, but if you would, for the sake of the community, how many kids do we think would be redistricted? I know it's a rough number, a moving target, but.
Both scenarios would redistrict about 200 students.
Okay, so I'd heard this thing that it was going to only affect like 5%, which is insignificant, but this is a significant reduction in students. And I know we have Dixon's principal here. with us tonight, so I appreciate you being here. But this is a significant difference, and Sneed's Ferry, for those that you don't know anything about it, they're adding people left and right. There's houses going to be built tonight and probably moved in tonight, I think. But, you know, this is a temporary solution, but I appreciate all the work that's went into it. I know it's a significant effort that's went into it, but I don't see that we have any other option right now. So, thank you.
Thank you.
I forgot to ask a question. Sorry, Louis. Can you tell us, just for the sake of public hearing, how many students are enrolled still going into this academic year at Dixon High? If you know, estimated, guesstimated is fine. Mr. Eamon might know, just right in the air.
It's about, I want to say it's probably somewhere around 1,100 students. That's not a hard number, but it's something similar to
Okay,
that.
and Dixon was built for about 750, right?
1,200?
Probably maybe closer to 1,200. Since I'm not in student services anymore, I've kind of
Yeah.
lost it.
He's grown out of his own position.
I remember hearing the numbers, 130% capacity for Dixon when we started this.
Yeah,
Yes, that's
135.
70 for Southwest.
That's correct, yes, sir.
Yeah. Yeah, so we're busting at the seams, but Dixon was built for what, about 750? Does that sound right, Doc? Ish? 750-ish?
Something about that. You know,
Yeah.
they've done some more, you know, they
Yeah.
have added
Yes.
some classrooms to it, and
Okay.
$957 is the capacity.
Yeah.
at Dixon.
957.
957.
Shaved off some, but we still have a problem. And like my esteemed colleague and slash neighbor across the river in the ferry said, we have houses being built. Probably by the time we get home, we'll be on 17 and they'll be opening the door, moving boxes in. So we do have a growth problem, and that means that in the near future, likely, we're going to need more than an addition, but a new Dixon High. No pressure. Over to you, Mr. Rogers.
All right. Well, so 200 students, you said, are
Approximately, yes, sir.
approximately. That would mean that about 5% of the parents, if there were individual, if each parent represented one student, that would have been 5% of response in your meetings. And, you know, some might think that the numbers are low, like there should have been more parents, but I want to say as far as community engagement, I harp on it a lot, and I actually have to say that you guys went above and beyond to reach out to the community on this one.
Thank you.
And I believe that when we make a vote right now, as a board, we're going to be making a vote by giving, you have presented us enough material so that we can make an educated decision on this. And I have to say that for this being my first redistricting that I've ever taken part in, I don't know how you guys do it. There's a lot of work. I know you guys are just going to be getting started pretty much. And, you know, I hope that this board helps you guys along the way of getting things done, especially quickly, because apparently there's probably going to be a house in their driveway by the time they get home. So, yeah, very happy with that. Thank you,
sir. Thank you.
Dr. Gardner, as we all know, this has been something that has been needed for a long, long time. And it was time that we did this, as painful as it could be for some folks. So we understand it. It's just the most prudent thing to do for considering everything. So thank you for your hard work.
Yes, sir.
Anything else, anybody?
I just want to say thank you for all your hard work on this.
Okay. Thank you.
And Dr. Barnes didn't keep the clicker this time. So we're doing pretty good these days.
All right. All right, so we have a motion on the floor. Do we have a motion to, let's have a vote on the motion to accept the plan. Don't we need a motion?
We're in discussion.
We already have that?
Second.
We're in discussion.
We already have that? All right. And we have a second, we have discussion. Let's vote on it. All those in favor of the motion, would you like me to read it again?
I mean, I don't.
Motion to approve the new attendance zones for Dixon High School in Southwest as presented in scenario 1, beginning with the 24-25 school year, allowing for students who are seniors during the 24-25 school year to elect to remain at Dixon High School, provided they can supply their own transportation. All in favor, please signify by voting aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Hearing none, motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brendan. All right, Brendan, I think we have another.
We do, yes, sir.
Piece for you. This is the award of the contract for the partial re-roofing of Hunters Creek Middle School. Brendan?
Thank you. So a significant portion of the roof at Hunters Creek Middle School has been determined to be in need of repair. This includes the roof over the cafeteria, administrative offices, media center, the 200 hallway. Since it's a partial re-roof, what's not being replaced, back in 2005, there was an expansion. That expansion roof is still in good condition, and also a good portion of the roof needed to be replaced after the events of September 2018. And so that is still in good condition and does not need to be replaced. So we're looking at replacing the rest of it. And due to the scope of this project and in accordance with North Carolina General Statute, Onslow County Schools enlisted the services of an architect, Smith Senate Architecture, to design this project. A bid for contractor services was advertised in July of 2023, and a formal bid opening was held on July 20th, 2023. Advertising for the project and bid opening procedures were conducted in accordance with applicable North Carolina General Statute and North Carolina Administrative Codes. Bids were then reviewed to determine the lowest responsible bidder. 3 contractors submitted bids for this project: ARS Extreme Construction, B&M Roofing Contractors, and Industrial Contract Service Corporation. In addition to the base bid, which was just to replace the roof, there were 2 alternates identified in this project, including alternate number 1, which was including metal roofing, and alternate number 2, which was to replace the gutters and the downspouts. After bid opening, only alternate number 2 was selected, and based upon the base bid and selected alternate, B&M Roofing was identified as the lowest responsible bidder with a bid of $620,624. So at this time, staff requests the board consider a motion to award the contract for the partial re-roofing of Hunters Creek Middle School to B&M Roofing in the amount of $620,624, contingent upon B&M Roofing obtaining the necessary payment and performance bonds.
All right, we need a motion to accept the bid as presented by Dr. Gardner.
A motion.
We have a motion to accept. Do we have a second? Any discussion, questions?
No questions, just a remark. One of my priorities has been making our schools better maintained, maintaining the things that we need to, repairing the things that we need to. So I'm happy to support this, but I also want to point out to the public the importance of knowing that the choice was between a metal roofing, adding that, or us repairing the asphalt shingles. So the conservative decision was made, fiscally conservative decision was made, and that's because a lot of our schools have to have like a kind of a padding, so to speak, or a support system because of when they were built. They need a support to put there just to put that metal roof on them. So that would have cost us more money in the long run instead of just maintaining and repairing what we have. And so I'm glad about this, and thank you for your hard work and your team.
Yes, ma'am. Anyone else? All right, those in favor of going with the plan as presented by Dr. Gardner, please raise your hand. Please signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Hearing none, motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Gardner. Okay, we have Mr. Anderson coming up. He's going to be talking to us about the final adoption of the policies in the 5000 series.
Yes, sir. The identified policies in the 5000 series that you're receiving tonight are recommended to the full board for adoption. Policy committee made appropriate recommendations for these policies, all of which were reviewed by staff and provided to the School Board Association attorney we're working with for final review. Policies were previously posted in the board's regular BOE meeting to permit time for further study and an opportunity for interested parties to react in accordance with Board Policy 2420, adoption of policies. So the 4 that we have tonight were some that were hanging on from the 5000 series, and just need to go ahead and get the board to approve these 4 policies as presented this evening.
All right. Entertain a motion to adopt the 5000, the final adoption of the policies in the 5000 series.
Mr. Chair, motion to approve.
All right, we have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Good.
We have a second. Any discussion? All right, hearing none. Those in favor of adopting making the final adoption of the policies in the 5000 series, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Thank you, Brent.
Thank you, sir.
Final business item on our agenda tonight is the Head Start Self-Assessment and Program Improvement Goals. And I think Dr. Barnes will begin this presentation.
Thank you, sir. In this next item, this was, for context, this was originally removed from the, I believe, the consent agenda in June in favor of presenting at the next regular board meeting, which is where we are now. And our director, Ms. Davis, will present some information in just a few minutes about the Head Start Program Improvement Plan for 23-24, specifically the self-assessment goals. And just as a point of illustration, you know, sometimes in the English language we have the same word that means two different things, or two words that sound the same, and we have lots of confusing things in the language, and I'll talk about that in a second. Think about toboggan, for example. Do you wear it or ride on it? Depends on where you're from, perhaps. Glove box, glove compartment, that type of thing. Stream or creek. So we do the same thing in education, where we talk about goals and objectives and priorities and strategic action steps and key strategies, and sometimes people mean all of the same things in all of those words. So although the document tonight talks about self-assessment goals, one of the things I wanted to share with you is to be a little bit more accurate. It's more of the current action steps. The long-term goals for the current plan were established, it's a 5-year plan. They were established in 2020, and this plan ends 24-25. So the document that you see tonight, titled Self-Assessment Goals for Program Improvement, are really more of the action steps that the team will collect data on throughout this particular school year. So I just wanted to kind of share that with you about the difference in the goals and what you're actually seeing here. So the long-term SMART goals have already been established. These are some things that we'll collect data on throughout the year. So rather than approval or not on any specific programs, what you're looking at tonight are just the strategies selected, approved previously by the Head Start Policy Council for data collection for this year. So now Ms. Davis is going to walk you through a few things related to this.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Dr. Collins, and executive staff. Thank you for this opportunity just to be able to share a little bit about the Head Start self-assessment process. So the Head Start program performance standards actually require Head Start programs on an annual basis to conduct a self-assessment process. Very similar to what every school in the state of North Carolina goes through as far as strategic planning. Our self-assessment process models the same concept. So our self-assessment process is comprised of multiple members, which I will kind of show you here in just a few moments, but this is something that we are required to do in a very extensive dive into the performance standards as far as how we are meeting those standards on a day-to-day basis as well as a year-to-year basis, looking at growth in data models, as well as getting input from all of our constituents within the program. So the data that we look at, this is just a kind of start to what we use. We talk in the preschool world that we have so much data that sometimes we have to take a step back to look at what specifically is the most important. But we do look at parent surveys. We do survey our parents on a lot of different things throughout the school year to get that input. They also provide input during our policy council, as well as the parent committee meetings that we have at each of our 7 sites. Our Head Start class, that's an actual observation tool designed by the Office of Head Start that we are required to do in our classrooms on an annual basis. So we do have class trainers, and they are certified trainers that get recertified every year. And this is also one of the processes during our Head Start review that's coming up very soon that will be done at a national level in that review for Onslow County schools. We use our teaching strategist data, so that's our academic model for our students and how they are performing and growing on an annual basis on those required domains in the North Carolina Foundations, which is our state standards. We use our Child Plus data, so we have health data, mental health data, family services, engagement. So much is built into that system, which I believe I shared with our board members during their training. They got to see some of that inside look at the Child Plus data, as well as our safety practices and licensing. Our North Carolina preschool pyramid model, that's an investment of time and resources that we have put into our program to help support our children and our classrooms within the program. Intervention data, instructional intervention. We do interventions in preschool too. It starts when they first enter our schools. So we have children who are on that instructional intervention, as well as children going through a referral process for exceptional children's. And then we have information from finance and transportation, child nutrition, and of course our teacher records, and the list goes on. So this was just kind of a starting point of all the things that our self-assessment process looked at. So the self-assessment process consisted of 5 steps. And so that first step was really starting the whole process. One of the things that we are required to do with the Office of Head Start is to train the team that is going through self-assessment on an annual basis. So I did provide that training to the staff that will be facilitating that process with our parents and other members of our subcommittee. The self-assessment team members then completed internal monitoring tools that we created based upon the standards that we are required to work through. Some of those internal tools we actually adopted from Office of Head Start, as well as other programs that are going through this same process. We collected evidences, documentation, and analyzed a lot of data. So this occurred over several weeks of where we were pulling all the information together. Then those committee leads pulled in their subcommittees. So subcommittees consisted of parents within the preschool program. They consisted of people who participate on policy council. We had community members. We also had a few people from a district office. We had transportation involved in different committees to get input and for them to be able to analyze the data that we had, as well as our documentation and evidences of our practice to provide feedback and recommendations. The subcommittee at that point then was provided the opportunity to identify strengths, areas of concern, or recommendations for our program and moving forward. All of that information was compiled and then presented back to me from the subcommittee, and we used that information to then derive our projected or proposed improvement goals, which is a requirement by the Office of Head Start to have those annual improvement goals that are the slow, small steps that we do on an annual basis that directly align back to our 5-year goals in meeting the overall standards of the Office of Head Start. So there was a lot of input, a lot of feedback that went into those goals that were presented to you in June. They have not changed from that original time frame, but that is the whole self-assessment process that we go through on an annual basis.
So at this time, staff recommends approval of the 23-24 Head Start Program Improvement Goals as presented. Mr. Chairman and Board.
All right, I ask at this time for a motion to approve the Head Start Program Improvement Goals for the 23-24 school year.
So moved.
We got a motion to accept, and do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Any discussion?
Go ahead. You got something, Albert?
No.
Louis?
Oh,
Go ahead.
you can go first.
Okay, I was just gonna bring up the fact that the goal plan, the original goal plan, or the 5-year plan per se, was passed in 2020, and that these are our annual, program improvements, so to speak. So I am glad to see that you and your team, Miss Lisa, always take so much time, with your families and the students to create these things and, to get to know them and what their true needs are, and then you bring that to us for the report. So thank you for that. I look forward to seeing your next improvement plans. There's always room to improve at Thompson, right? So, but thank you for that. That's all I have.
Okay, Mr. Rogers?
So, yes, as I look at this, there's a lot of thought process put into it. We've had multiple discussions about that. You know, as a board member, I would have to say why I might have any issues with this. I'd like to make it clear that I actually don't have any issues with the way that not only this is presented, but also the amount of engagement that you guys are putting with the parents and the students. And it looks like, I mean, you guys are interacting with community partnerships here as well. But there's been discussion, and I've talked to you about it, about one of the pieces of curriculum here that I'm not, what I saw is not appropriate. And when I vote today, I'm voting on what you guys have put together here as your goals, which those goals I'm very happy with. But a piece of this curriculum within it is what draws concern. So For the community's awareness, I'm going to vote yes because I like what I see here. But the piece of curriculum, which is not a piece of this discussion today, or this vote today, is something that I would like to bring up in the near future. Because, a couple of things that I read today were, it's just, as far as you've let me know, we have no instances of any educators misusing this curriculum, which is very good to hear. However, within the curriculum are elements that we have chosen not to use because of the potential for, it to be abused. And in our discussions, I asked, is it possible that we have a curriculum that does not tread on those lines? I am aware that this is we've had the curriculum for how long? Speaking on conscious discipline.
We are in third year of implementation of the conscious discipline strategies.
Okay, the strategies, yes. And let's make that noted. It's, you guys are using conscious discipline as a strategy basis, on a strategy basis, meaning it's not fully being implemented. There are strategies within it that you guys are implementing.
And it's not in the sense of a curriculum where there's specific lessons taught to students. There are no student-generated lessons. The only lessons associated would be with optional parent lessons. So we offer, we need to get Parent Academy in on it, by the way. We offer some parent training that are actually the only lessons specifically through conscious discipline.
And based off of, yes, and thank you for adding that, because based off of our discussions, that is what we're using it strictly for. So a couple areas that I was concerned about was the traditional discipline model for teachers. You can make others change, you can make others change is the way they see our old discipline model, and the conscious discipline model for teachers is change yourself if you want to change your students. The traditional model for conscious discipline says rewards and punishment are fundamental, meaning that's the old way. Meaning the new way is conflict is a reflection of lack of social emotional skills. The side that we're not using is almost a foundation for the entire template. That's what I'm seeing here. So it goes on to explain that conscious discipline is an adult-first, transformational, trauma-responsive approach to self-regulation. It requires adults and teachers to be trauma-informed and aware of student racial disparities and social economic statuses. If we're not using that, then I'm pleased. It's still embedded within the curriculum, and therefore I'm very uncomfortable with that. But like I said, today the vote is not on this curriculum. We couldn't vote on that right now. It's on your goals. And your goals have obviously presented, they're well within at least what I believe to be, they're definitely suitable. But I thought I'd let the community know because I am going to vote yes for that.
Okay, anyone else?
Oh, right here, Mr. Reddick.
Yes.
Dr. Barnes, Ms. Davis, Dr. Morris. Implementing day-to-day the strategies that lead towards specific goals is not so intricate that you sit a child down in front of you and then fill their brain with minutia. It's as simple as how you personally approach that child, developing a strategy that takes into consideration your state of mind, the educational goal to be achieved, the state of the child, and then appropriate communication. Circles around. Hopefully at the end of the day, everything works. The baby goes home safe. The teacher goes home safe. And everyone has learned something according to what has to be accomplished per Head Start's rules. And that's what we do. That's what we always do. I needed to say that so that if anyone's planting in your mind that someone's supplanting all kind of strange things in the minds of children in the school system, it is not the case. I applaud you on what you do. I was in the trenches with you. I know how it works. Thank you.
All right, anyone else?
I just need to
Okay.
add one more thing, Mr. Reddick. I know we're ready to go home. What my colleague has presented to the public is a matter of the curriculum, which, yes, it has been brought to the board's attention regarding conscious discipline. Since we're putting it out to the public, I'm just going to put it all out to the public. Conscious discipline is the name of the curriculum that's currently used. There are particular strategies that have been taken from that conscious discipline to implement into the pre-K program. Again, that was adopted 3 years ago in the 5-year plan in 2020. Some of my esteemed colleagues would like to implement something called Cloud9 World. Well, I think the issue that most of us being conservatives have is that we have concerns about indoctrination and all of those things in CASEL, which is the SEO framework that kind of does most of that indoctrination. It is the framework of indoctrination. Well, what I've learned from doing my research and due diligence is that Cloud9 World says right on their website that they support the framework of CASEL, the same thing that we don't want. So as far as I can tell from researching, there's not much out there that doesn't support the 5 steps or whatever to the CASEL framework, the main steps. So that is why we have people like Ms. Davis who have cherry-pick curriculum. So we don't have kids being groomed, and we don't have children being persuaded and force-fed foolishness in our classrooms, whether it is pre-K, kindergarten, or their senior year in school. So I just felt that it was important to add that over to you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, so this time, we'll vote on this board action to approve the Head Start program improvement goals for the 23-24 school year. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Thank you. All right, next up, we have our superintendent, Dr. Barry Collins, and I have a feeling we're going to be raising a bar tonight.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, staff, and the audience that is here tonight, thank you for allowing me this time. Before I begin, though, I want to take a moment and share our deepest sympathy with the families of those who have lost loved ones that were associated with Onslow County Schools family, Mr. Brock Ridge, Ms. Barbara Newman, and most recently an elementary child that would be a student at Clearview. So our thoughts and prayers are with those families tonight. I want to share with you and those listening our campaign, Raising the Bar, and don't want to beat the dead horse. We've heard a lot about it tonight. But in my 34 years that I've taught and been an educator, I have found that mediocrity is expensive. Mediocrity is expensive. And I do not believe that we are a mediocre people. Therefore, we should expect more out of our students and more out of ourselves. And it's good that we celebrate accomplishments just like we did tonight and we do each month. But to rest upon the laurels of the past would be foolish. So we must put ourselves in the mindset of continuous improvement and around the framework of we instead of me. So with that, what does raising the bar mean? Well, for our staff, it means expect better from your students. And students will rise to your expectations. We've got to push, we've got to nudge, we've got to stretch their thinking. But we need to do this with the fostering a good rapport with the parents. We have the staff needs to do that. What does it mean for the parents? Well, for the parents, it means to ensure that their children are getting a healthy meal, they're properly clothed, and that they have proper hygiene and rest, and get them to school every day on time. It's very important. And they need to foster a good rapport with their teacher. It's very simple. This is not rocket science. Consistency is going to be required of everybody. What does it mean for the students? It means come to school every day prepared. It means anticipate high expectations with no excuses. We're running out. There's no time for excuses. Produce quality work products and earn your education. It costs $12,000 a year per child. They need to know that, and they need to earn that, $12,000 a year. Raising the bar, what does it mean for you and for me and our administrators? It means to focus on instruction. It means to have child-centered decision-making. It means to progress monitor. And it means to be a strong public school advocate. Mr. Chairman, the opposite of mediocrity is excellence. Excellence in education will produce an abundant life and a tremendous return on our investment. Raising the Bar campaign has started. Let's all unite. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Dr. Collins. And now, board comments. Who would like to start tonight? Anybody have any comment you'd like to make? A little closing? All right. Mr. Garvey?
Going to kind of reiterate what Dr. Collins had mentioned as well, but we do look forward to a new school year and obviously the new initiatives that are going into place for the success of our students. Our prayers go out to our administrators, our teachers, and our school staff, as well as our students, as we all work together to help our students succeed. And I think it's important to provide opportunities for parents to get involved with their programs like the Parent Academy. And as we move forward, I would like to encourage all of our parents to support our children's education as well as equal partners. And when I say that, I'm talking about on a more personal level, I guess. I would want more of our parents to support their children's education by knowing what they're doing in school, by talking to them every day, asking them what they're doing in class, making sure that they come to school well rested, and that they come motivated to learn and to behave. We all want the same thing. We all want our students to grow and to be successful. And for that to happen, we all have to take part in this journey. Thank you.
Mr. Rogers?
Reference to raising the bar, and your words, Dr. Collins, you know, we have one of three options. We can either lower the bar, we can maintain the bar, or we could raise it. And, you know, we know the outcome of lowering the bar. We see it happening oftentimes in other parts of the country or even other parts of the world, and maintaining the bar is something that stagnation, it kills. To raise the bar means that it sounds like we're setting a new standard, and it's a bold statement that a district will make that we're going to raise the bar, right? And that is one that I'd like to see. So far, what I've seen about the Raise the Bar initiative is it's good, and I'd like to see it acted out in its entirety. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Angie, anybody, anything?
Yes, I just want to thank everybody that came out tonight. Thank you for our speakers who put their program together and presented that tonight. Thank you to Dr. Barnes and Dr. Eiler for putting theirs in. I didn't make a comment earlier because I thought we were just commenting on the Parent Academy. I didn't know we were finishing that up, so I got cut off, so I apologize. I'm super excited for this new initiative. I'm glad to see everybody coming together to work for these, the betterment of our children in the community. I did want to touch base on the last item because I didn't get a chance to talk. I guess I should have spoke up on the Head Start item. I have voiced my concerns for the program that's in place. I've had multiple conversations with Dr. Barnes and Mr. Rogers, and he is working hard. He understands my concerns. It's not against the Head Start program. It's not against administration or teachers. It's just when I did some research on this particular one, I had some concerns, and I voiced those where I was supposed to voice them, and that's the only thing I'm trying to do here. The one Cloud 9 that I did submit as a possible. I didn't say you had to implement it. I'm just trying to do my part here. I don't want to be attacked either. I just am trying to be a good board member and have conversations with you all and build relationships, because I want the same thing at the end of the day as you guys do, and that's for the betterment of our community and our kids. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Lemieux?
All I can see is this, and I have to reference myself, because I'm always shooting my mouth off about education being continual. It's something of continuous improvement, and raising the bar touches on these things for me. It's about participation in the system, whether you're a parent, student, teacher, support staff, whomever. Understanding what is going on so that sound decisions can be made regardless of what those decisions are. And then navigating the system, especially for parents, being able to navigate, understand what your child is going through, what's going on in their classroom, and what the processes are for you to ensure that those children get the best education possible. It is every parent's right. And the linchpin to all of this is cooperation. Everyone has to cooperate. So Dr. Collins, step it up.
All right. Mr. Williams?
That would be me. Just to say thank you to Dr. Collins and staff, teachers, administrators for raising the bar this year. First step to raising the bar was acknowledging we had a problem. Can't raise it if you don't say it's not low. So I want to give him some kudos, and just to let you know that I highly respect that. You identified a problem, and you've also identified solutions with your team to fix that. So thank you for that. A call to the community to help us raise the bar, yes. One of my things has been churches, civic groups, whatever. If you can please help us and our students by offering something similar to what we had whenever I was in high school. We used to volunteer at the church on Main Street once a week to give students free tutoring. It was mainly for elementary students. Well, the most important foundation of reading and writing and arithmetic is K-3. I think that most of my administrators in here would agree with that. Your K-3 is very important. So if we can support those areas, or even K-5, to get the elementary students off to a strong foundation of learning, I would greatly appreciate that myself. Involvement and visibility. I think that all of us need to be more involved. Parents, you need to be more involved. I'm speaking as a parent on that. Grandparents even, be more involved. Go to those fall festivals, go to those events at the schools, get to know the people in the schools, offer your support, volunteer, 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 volunteer. It might seem like a thankless thing to do, but it is something that you're able to do. Even if it's 30 minutes and you're offering to staple papers or make copies, or just give the teacher a few seconds to do something else while you read to the classroom, that's greatly appreciated, and it makes a huge difference to our school communities. So I welcome and encourage everyone to do that. There's been some talk in the community about the clear backpacks, and there's some urgency there, people kind of panicking a little bit, having anxiety, wondering, are they doing that district-wide? Are they going to tell us last minute? Well, no. It's only at 2 high schools, and that is Jacksonville High School and Northside High School for this time. So it's not district-wide. So if you hear someone ask that or someone talking about that, please clarify it for the sake of their knowledge that it's not going to be but at those 2 high schools. The cell phone policy is something that I am grateful that staff supported and worked with us on, and the board unanimously was in support of that, because the cell phones will actually deter a lot of our problems. They'll keep from disruptions and distractions in the classroom so they can focus on learning and not texting. And also some of those violent occurrences will be deterred as well. When you can't text your friend and say, I'm about to go whoop her butt, then guess what? She's probably not going to go whoop her butt. So the cell phones being put away will be very helpful, and I'm grateful for that. Again, like Dr. Collins said, condolences and prayers to the families that have had losses, especially that of young Anaya Taylor, who was a great tragedy this past week. So our prayers are continued with you. I recently had a training with UNC government on engaging the community on public issues. Go figure. What does that have to do with my position, right? That's sarcasm. But just to be with those people from different municipalities around the state, whether they were school board members or city council people or mayors or even management or whatever, it was interesting to see that we all shared some similar issues, and we also shared similar ideas to feedback off of each other. So that was a very nice thing, and I look forward to sharing those presentations with the rest of the board. My last thing is buses. Buses. We need more bus drivers, don't we, Dr. Korinek? We always need more bus drivers. There is, again, some community conversation out there about us having to double some of those routes as far as middle schoolers and high schoolers. That is hopefully going to be a temporary thing. We are still taking applications. You can still get trained. We still encourage you to do that. But please be patient those first few weeks, if not first few months of school, because this is a new thing, rolling back that schedule. A few years ago, we had an accident early one morning where we lost a student because of someone hitting him. So I would like to not see that this year. So be patient, leave early. Those first few weeks, learn where the bus stops are, learn the bus routes, look for those signs, and just please be vigilant for the safety of our students and our bus drivers. And I pray that we're off to a wonderful, amazing, Raising the Bar 23-24 school year. God bless.
Thank you, Melissa. Bradley?
Good evening, everyone. I wanted to first thank you for all being here. I appreciate you and your support and all the presentations that were made tonight. I did want to mention two things. I encourage you to get involved with those prayer academies. I think I've already expressed that in a nice infomercial. But also, the open houses are going to start in the next couple weeks for the schools. I encourage you as parents, grandparents, caregivers, whatever your role is in that child's life, to go there, learn the school, especially if it's a new school, meet the teachers, introduce yourself, and go ahead and start building that relationship with that teacher. It's just so important. You can wait till later on in the year where there's an issue and then you don't have no relationship with that teacher or that administrator, and it just makes it so much harder to navigate. The other thing I wanted to mention is that as administrators, board members, but I know certainly those who are in the schools, we appreciate the parent support and the cell phone policy that you would talk to your kids about before they start school, that you would mention it to them off and on, and if they're caught with it or there's some issue with it, that you're supporting the school system, because it will help cut down on some of the issues that we're having. It was overwhelming support from the schools and the administrators, so I just appreciate that your support on that. And the other thing, final thing, is that Dixon and Southwest, I think there might be one more, but they've started their agriculture program as far as building their barn. I like barns. And I like seeing it being constructed at Southwest and Dixon. So if you get a chance, go down there and see it. I know Dixon just hired their agriculture teacher for animal science, I believe. I met her today. She's a phenomenal lady. She's excited to be there and get started. So just wonderful things happen. I appreciate the Raising the Bar. When I first seen that email, I was like, everywhere in society is lowering the bar, lowering the standards, expecting less, but demanding more for themselves. And I'm excited that we're a community that's going to raise the bar, raise expectations for all of us, not just one portion of society or one portion of the school system, but for everybody. So it's an exciting time. I'm glad that we have a little bit of summer left. I know most of you are glad too. But school year is quickly approaching, so just help prepare those students. Thank you.
Thank you, Bradley. Dr. Collins and I spend a lot of time together. There's probably there's some weeks where we're discussing something maybe 3 or 4 days a week, and he probably gets tired of me. But Dr. Collins, of all the stuff that we deal with, what do you think my favorite topic is?
Instruction.
Absolutely. Thank you. And I did not prompt him to say that. There's not every conversation, no matter how uncomfortable it is with extraneous stuff that we shouldn't even be dealing with, but we do. We have to. God loves all his children. Instruction is near and dear to my heart. I spent my whole professional career focusing on instruction. And I do believe, Dr. Collins, that everybody in the school system is serious. This board is serious about raising the bar. There's not a person here that even, I couldn't see an inkling of anyone that said, why are we doing? No, raising the bar is what we must do because mediocrity is rampant in this country. We've got to do something about it and hold ourselves accountable and hold children and parents accountable. The three legs of your Raising the Bar initiative, I guess initiative is the right word. We've been trying to initiate that for a long time, but it's official now, is empowering students, exceeding expectations, and achieving exceptional outcomes. I've read that on one of the many PowerPoints I've seen. But that takes commitment. And I'm telling you, it's one thing to commit and have some slides up there, but the follow-through is what makes the difference. If we say it, we've got to mean it. And I feel comfortable that we do mean what we say. We have to raise the bar. We have to demand more. I talk to my granddaughter all the time. I don't have to talk to her. Her mother talks to her, but she does the very best she can. She challenges herself. I wish all children would get that message from home to challenge themselves. I don't know the statistic. I used to know it, but Dr. Collins just mentioned it costs $12,000 to educate each child. I used to know the figure of how much it costs to keep a person in prison for a year. It's a lot more. I would guesstimate it's probably $35,000 to keep a person behind bars.
Probably approaching 100.
Bill says it may be closer to 100, and some of you may know some roundabout figures on that. I don't know. Wouldn't it make sense to invest now a piddly $12,000 compared to a possible $100,000 to keep some kid in prison who shouldn't be there because of lack of support, because they didn't have the tools to make it in society? I guess the thing that bothers me most is how parents don't send their own children to school. They let them sit out, go to the mall, ride around in a car. I just don't get that. You cannot learn. Yeah, you can. You can learn by holding a device in your hand about how to shoot people on some kind of computer screen. You can do that. But we've got to get kids in school. We've got to improve our attendance. It's got to happen. And all of us are responsible for that. We've got to make sure that kids come to school. Anyway, you're probably tired of hearing all that, but thank you, Dr. Collins, for making it official to put yourself out there as the leader, the instructional leader of this school system. It's time that we get on with the program, that we all pull together. We don't go in our little different extraneous, non-consequential areas and distract the school system. I'm tired of being distracted.
These folks too.
Excuse me?
I want to recognize these folks down here.
Yeah, and let me do that too.
It's not me.
It's not me. Yeah, it's
we.
I enjoy pre-board meetings because I get to talk with Jeff Holloman. I get to talk with Brendan Gardner. I get to talk with Dr. Barnes. It is good to hear from these people who know what the heck they're doing. But we need to focus on instruction and not all this stupid stuff that we get to deal with. It makes no sense. We have only so much time in a day. And Lord, the amount of time I have spent in the past few months dealing with stuff that does not translate to education. It does not translate to anything other than nonsense. I'm tired of it. I just hope we can pick up the gauntlet. We can move forward and make this the best school system in the state of North Carolina. So, at this point, I'll entertain a motion for closure of this meeting.
Out of here.
Mr. Chair?
Before we adjourn, you said shooting people in screens. Were you talking about video games?
Yes, video games.
Checking.
On screens, yeah.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
make a motion to adjourn.
All right, we have a motion to adjourn. We have a second?
Second that
We
motion.
have a second motion. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. This meeting is adjourned.